Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Damien Liversidge, the host for Fight for Life. And today we have a really awesome guest, Mr. David Saville, who I have been in contact with for a while now. And this guy is really great. He really has helped me in my own personal coaching, and he has been helping other coaches as well. So he's a really great mentor. So welcome, David. I'm glad to have you on the show. And just tell us about who you are, where you're from, and basically what you do.
Hey man, thank you. So in some ways, it's like I live and breathe coaching. Like my entire life was the opposite to that, social anxiety, panic attacks, body dysmorphia. For the first 35 years of my life, actually, I didn't really create anything of meaning and didn't think I could either. Since then, though, that's when things changed. It was actually the death of my father that was the big kicker. It was the moment of realizing that all those the false lies to myself, the promises of what could be, I brought face to face with the fact that was just rubbish. That I was deceiving myself, deceiving my father and everyone around me. And after that, it was like a deep assessment of life, really, and what needed to happen. I'd already done lots of training in different things like NLP and hypnosis and clean language and other things over the years. So I'd done a lot of that stuff, but it only touched the surface, really. It made small changes. It wasn't until after that I made the deepest decision to never again fail those I love, and to actually create myself out of the job I'd been in for 17 years, to actually truly make the difference now. And that's when I sought out teachers, mentors, coaches, and it became obsessive, really, about how to make real, deep, permanent transformations. I had amazing coaches, discovered what coaching was, and learned as much from the way I was being coached as from what the coaching did as well. And then over the years, I've worked with around 800 individuals so far, run hundreds of workshops, interactive talks, retreats, have been training coaches as well since 2016. And that's really where I realized I am best placed. It's like I'm from understanding the mechanisms of change from my own transformations, and also understanding what the coach needs to do to guide people through like incredible changes. And now I've sort of extracted out my own processes like pure coaching, the art of storytelling, advanced session structures, and all these different things, really, which I can then package up and give to coaches so they can actually create profound and lasting transformations with their clients that makes any fee they want to charge worth it. Actually really worth it. Measurable results that are life-changing. So that's kind of the short version of where I am.
Yeah, I know, it's cool. For example, when you speak about that whole, as we call it, the unique selling point, and you and I, we connected a while ago, and you asked me the question, what's your story? And so many coaches don't know what their story is, and they tend to try and make something up, if I can put it that way. It's they try and be someone, but they're actually not being themselves. I know you have more experience in that. Like you said to me, what's your story? And I was like, well, what do you want? Do you want the coach version, or do you want the me version? And you made it very clear. No, what is your story? And I don't know, like, just tell me why should we actually do our story? Because I think there are a few coaches listening to this, and I think this would be really great to just hear from your point of view. What is so important about the story?
Yeah, this is interesting, actually, because this is what tends to happen. So coaches, however they become a coach, whether they go for a training school, whether they just decide to become one after their own experiences, whatever it is, it's like they're this person living a life, doing whatever they're doing, posting on social media their life as normal, the normal stuff. And then suddenly, bang, I'm this coach, and the Facebook page pops up, website pops up, and you're like, and it's like, hang on a second. Anyone who finds them, it's like, hang on, what? It doesn't make sense. Anybody who bothers to check back, it doesn't make sense. How are you a coach? What have you done? What blood, how have you bled? What pain have you gone through? What challenges have you faced? What lessons have you learned? All this kind of stuff, right? Why the hell are you a coach apart from because you've decided? And a lot of the problem is because, especially if you go through a training school, they kind of teach you to have this front. Up front. So they've got this like shiny shop front, you call it, and I call it a shop front of pressure. And it means you've got to then be something. All you've done is training. You're not a coach. You've done some training. You know some things, and you haven't worked with enough people yet. And so the beautiful thing about going into your own story is you get to go in, and it's not just one story, by the way. There are hundreds of stories going back to when you were a small child that you extract out the most meaningful ones. And it makes sense as to what did you learn? Why were you able to do that thing? Whether you're an athlete at school, like you, for instance, right? When we were talking about you doing this, becoming like a champion, like ballroom dancer, right? I was like, tell me about that. Because if you look at the outcome, right? Champion ballroom dancer, and then a national level, and then you go back to what does that mean? What would you have had to go through? The hours you put in, the fact you had to work with a partner, of course. Well, that tells you a lot about the human being that you are, all by itself. That whole journey of finding the right person who you can perform to your best and trust that person, and they trust you. And the amount of hours and dedication and work you'd have had to go through to be able to get to that level. Well, inside of that, there's like how many thousands of stories, probably single moments that matter, because in those emotional moments of how you got there, that's where we get to meet you. That's how we get to figure out who you are. So even no matter what you've done as far as a coach, your authority as a coach and what you've personally done is within your story.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, like you said, obviously, if I take my story now and just speaking on working with a partner, I mean, that's another person. It's not just you. It's not two of you. And it's not just, oh no, we're friends. We're a partnership. It's basically, I always say it's like a relationship. You always have to keep on working on it, especially with yourself. If you don't work on yourself, something's going to lack at the end of the day. And I mean, like you said, the meaningful stories, I mean, we can always say that, but there's always like you said, story behind a story, because there are I like to call it the golden thread. Like, for example, when you said to me, no, I want to hear more about this. And I was like, I don't really talk about this, but okay, sure, I'll do it, because a lot of people do want to hear about it. And ever since that day, people say, okay, so tell me about you. Well, I mention it. Why? Because people want to know who I am. I mean, I went on a camp not so long ago, and they're like, okay, Damien's a life coach, but he's also doing this. I was like, whoa, I didn't even give you everything, but okay, cool. I'll just sit here and go, you can speak for me. But I find that when we tell our stories, it's so important because other people can relate. So, like, for example, your story might be able to be related to someone else that I've spoken to, or maybe it's me that I'm like, wow, man, I can really get what you're saying. But so often we sit here and we go, where are we now? And I'm sure that's when we look back, we can go, okay, so yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's who you are only makes sense because of where you've been. It's like everything we are is a product of everything. And this is it. Like, so one of the things I focus on, right, is deep USP, like the deep, unique selling point of a human being and a coach, right? And extracting that. And of course, it is within these individual stories, because this is how that when you do a lot of training or you work with a lot of people, right? I work with 800 individuals, right? Plus thousands actually through workshops and things. You kind of see patterns in behavior. You see patterns in the way people behave, the things they say. And if you look at it superficially, it can look like people actually, there's not that much difference in human beings, right? Superficially, because there are patterns that are very similar that you can predict, right? However, there's not a single human being on the planet who has lived the life you have or I have. Nobody has, from birth to this moment, has seen exactly what we've seen, listened and heard what we've heard, taken it in, done something with it, and then built upon it in the exact way we have. Not a single human being ever has or ever will again. And so only by understanding ourselves deeper, because we don't understand, unless we do this work, we don't know ourselves either, by the way. We don't really know. Like, a number of coaches, I asked them, like, how did you achieve that? And what they do is they tell the story of what they like, an echo of it is what they say. Like, as an example, a perfect example, right? One of my clients, right? He was paralyzed in a car crash. So he broke his back and was told he would never walk again. And this is by the surgeon who repaired his back. Says, look, you're never going to walk again. Stop being deluded. All we're going to do is prepare you to be in a wheelchair for life. That was what he was facing. He fought against that, and he worked damn hard. He had to fight to get physio to work on his legs, because they were so certain he would never walk again. But he battled and was able, and got himself able to walk again. Like, incredible story. Obviously, it's a much bigger, deeper story than that. But that's the short version. Now, when been talking about it for the past 10 years, what he did, he's been saying, nobody else did, I believed. And this is what he's been telling everyone. So he's been saying, you've got to believe in yourself, right? It's been okay. So yeah, he had to fight to get even physio, because they were so certain his future only entailed a wheelchair. But he battled and fought and got himself able to walk again. Now, obviously, that's a much bigger and deeper story than I can go into here. But for the years now, he wanted to then help people, right? He wanted to help others to do what he's done. And he's been telling people for about 10 years now, like, what he did in those dark moments is he deeply believed in himself. He believed, and because he believed, he was able to create. And then he's been telling people and saying, you must believe in yourself. And that's been the message for 10 years. Then I spent some time with him, and I asked him to go into the actual story, the moment by moment experience of what happened. And we discovered very much that self-belief had nothing to do with it. He did not believe. In fact, he felt hopeless a lot of the time. He felt he was in pain about the reality of what he was facing when his legs were doing nothing. He was like screaming at his legs at times because nothing was happening. He didn't believe it would happen. But he was desperate, and he fought, and he had someone else who believed in him. He had someone else who did believe in him. And it was the belief of someone else combined with his just desperation and the work he put in that enabled him to do it. Plus some other things, of course, that he mastered some certain mind techniques that he's now teaching others. But the truth is that he believed self-belief for years was it. Now, of course, having gone into the moment of what happened, now he's stopped telling people they need to believe in themselves. He knows that's rubbish. He knows that had nothing to do with his healing process. And now we've gone into the real details of what he really did. And now he's created processes based upon what he did to help him teach others. Because that's also the beautiful thing. When you go into the moment by moment detail, you extract out a unique methodology, something that they did different to anybody else. Even if they followed someone else's process, there'll be something unique in the way that they did it that they can then impart to someone else. And then you build your own original methodologies around what you specifically did. So it's knowing your own stories, is so important for coaches, but for any human being, but for coaches specifically.
No, for sure. I mean, like you were saying about stories and the whole self-belief part, and sometimes you do need that helping hand, especially, us as coaches, sometimes we are seen like this superhuman race, but we actually not. We've been through our own dark ages, if I can put it in that sense. I mean, for myself, if I have to look back, about 2 years ago, I had to resign from a job that I really loved, and it broke me because I had to now go, oh my word, I'm nowhere close to actual home. Man, what do I do? And if it wasn't for this one guy, Lindsay, and he was actually a pastor, but he actually became one of my good friends. And he just even now today, he will still push me. He will still go, okay, Damien, you're on the right track, but just keep on going. You're so close. That just that little bit of encouragement always gives you like a little bit of a boost, because sometimes we need it, because like you said, you need that helping hand. But self-belief, I always say, self-belief sometimes just doesn't work, and we need that something more, if I can put it in that sense.
Amen. You disappeared for a moment there.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Did you hear what I said?
I heard the moment when you're sharing about Lindsay and that he's encouraging you, and then it froze.
All right. So what I said was, when Lindsay encouraged me, quite often, even though he still does it today, that whole self-belief part. we find that sometimes we need the helping hand, because if you look at it, self-belief, it only goes to a certain extent, but it's always a mind battle, because you're always fighting against yourself. Eventually you start becoming your own worst enemy, right?
It's also like the fact that if you need self-belief, what happens when you don't? Like, how, to truly believe, this is the funny thing, right? If you're going to do something and like far beyond your current circumstances, which I recommend every human being does, right? We have huge goals way beyond where we are. If you believe you're going to do it, you're deluded, because that makes no sense. There's no good reason to believe it, right? You're just deluded. And it can be a fun delusion. Don't get me wrong, it can be fun to delude yourself, but what happens in those dark moments, right, when it doesn't seem to be working? If you need self-belief, what are you going to do? I don't believe in myself today, so today I'm not going to work. Tomorrow I believed in myself yesterday, so I worked. Nothing's going to get created if we need to believe in ourselves first. It's a misdirection of energy, where instead of that, it's like, no matter how I'm feeling, I'm just going to focus on what needs to be done. It's far more powerful.
Yeah, no, true. I mean, if you look at it, it's that point of where you need to decide. I mean, like with myself, I mean, you know my story, when I mean, from that psychologist told me, you won't become a success, you won't do anything good in life and all that. But I mean, you get to a point where you go, but wait, why am I actually believing this guy? I mean, there is times where, you actually start, like I said, you become your own worst enemy, but then you have to actually decide whether or not you're actually just going to push through it or not. And I mean, it doesn't mean self-belief.
Damien, sorry, mate. I don't know that part, actually.
Really?
I don't know that. Yeah, you haven't told me that. So that's quite a huge story. What happened there?
So basically what happened was, go around about my 7th year in school, went for aptitude test just to find out what my interests were, not interests. And basically from there, we went to the guys' offices, and a whole bunch of my friends were there. And I mean, you wait, and then all of a sudden now it's your turn to actually just chat about it. And what happened was, the guy's like, sorry, said to my parents, sorry, but your son will not make it to university. Your son won't become a success in life. And I mean, I believe that dude. I mean, for 4 years, from the 7th year, 7th year to the 11th year, I mean, I believe the dude. I mean, it was like, how? I mean, like, I was doing well in school, don't get me wrong. But now I get to this point, and what's the point, And then it got to the point where my dad was like, listen, what's going on? I mean, you've always done well, you've always done this. And he basically said to me, Damien, why are you even listening to that guy? And I was like, but his results. And normally that piece of paper, that has the results, you kind of like believe in it, because you're like, okay, that's saying I'm actually stupid, But what happened was, my dad and my mom sat me down and said, you know what, I challenge you, because they knew I always loved a challenge, whether it be like, like just doing something just for the fun of it. But they challenged me and said, why don't you prove this guy wrong? I was like, but how? I'm going to study for what? And they're like, no, show that you can get into university. Well, I did, and put my all into it, studied hard, put my marks in for uni, and then I waited, I think it was about 6 months, and it was in my final year, around about, I would say, April, May, somewhere there. I got to the post office, collect your post, and all of a sudden there's a thing that says your name on it, Mr. DJ Liversidge. And I was like, okay, what's this for? Open it up. There it is. Dear Mr. Liversidge, congratulations, you have been provisionally accepted into the University of Pretoria. And from there, it was like, okay, I can do it. Like, why am I listening to this guy? Ever since then, I keep on like thinking back, what? If I could do it then, I can still do it now. Like that's my pushing point. I mean, I'm still proving the guy wrong. I mean, if I get down, I think back and go, you know what? He was the one that brought me down, but I'll never go back to where I was. It's that choice whether or not you're going to, sit down and like take the hit, or you're gonna like run forward and go after the bull, if I can put it that way. Instead of the bull charging you, you charging it, and that's what I did. And right now, this is where I am. I'm a coach now. I'm really I'm helping kids that were in the same predicament as me, where they were like, oh my word, the psychologist said I'm not going to get into that thing. Guys, don't listen to him. They're talking a load of rubbish. I mean, I was there. I mean, just work hard and you can do it. I mean, not work hard like as in like work your butt off to the point you did, but do your best and you'll see the results. And that's what happened with me. And it's basically that. I mean, you get to that point and you're like, no, I need to do this. And I think that's what a lot of people miss, especially coaches. They do all these things, but then they forget, what, they must just push forward. Sometimes, like they say, Rome was not built in a day. But I always say Rome was destroyed in a day, though. So you need to be careful which side of the spectrum you're on. So yeah, no, it's all good, bro. It's always that part where you just need to push forward. So, but like you said, use your story. It's one of the. I always find if you listen to all these guys, I mean, these guys that are on like Gold Coast and all them, where they've had a story why they are there now. I mean, they're using their story. They're not using anything else. I mean, whether it be a cancer survivor saying, you know what, I beat cancer. I mean, people will be going, wow, you beat cancer, woohoo! But what was really going on in that time when they were actually battling it? That is the story that we want to know. And I think, David, I think the stuff that you do, I mean, Flip, you put me in my place every now and again, which I love, because you're like, Damien, why are you doing that, bro? Yeah, it's like, get with it. So, but David, if they want to get hold of you or they want to connect with you, where can they find
you? So Facebook is the best place, really. Just connecting me there. That's where I spend most time. That's where I do live videos and write posts and things like that. Or LinkedIn, either way. David Saville. David Saville 78 is actually on Facebook, if you find it on there. And I share things continuously of how to be better at coaching, like how to make more out of your coaching, how to give more to clients, and of course the storytelling aspect. Actually, there's three main elements that I help people with anyway, right? Is the Deep USP, so it's extracting the stories, the methodologies, the things that are unique to the coach. Then there's the making every part of the coaching service better, making it high quality, being able to be a better coach and to be able to create radical transformation every single session, because you can do that. It's very simple to create whatever you want. And then gravitational presence, really. How do you create a presence where, whether you're writing, whether you're doing a video, whether you're in person, you create like a gravitational pull for the right kind of people to you? So that's the main things I talk about. That's the work that I do. Facebook is the best place to connect with me and to find out more and to get support directly. Yeah, that's it.
And I know that's true, because when I need support, yeah, it's quick. 1, 2, 3, and he's there. So guys, go and check him out. It's really that simple. Just go check him out on Facebook. His content is great. I mean, I watch it regularly when I get to see it. Sometimes I miss it because I've got so many people on my feed. So, I mean, guys, seriously, it is amazing. Go and check out that content. It is such a valuable asset to have, especially if you can get this guy like in your corner. And thank you very much, David, for joining us on the Fight for Life. And I really hope that your coaching and your business just kicks off even higher and higher.
Thanks. It's been great to be here.
Awesome. So guys, that is all for today. And I will see you again next week for our new session, the Book Corner. For all you authors out there, we are now kicking off a new little thing that we're doing.
Totally frozen. I don't know if you can, are you there?
There we go. I can see you.
Ah, hey man.
There we go. Let me redo that part. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. We are going to be starting a new session next week called the Book Corner for all the authors out there. We are going to be reviewing your books. We are going to be letting you tell us why you wrote the book, and also if there are any launches out there. We are going to be having a really special guest popping on later next week. So be tuned, and I will see you then. Have a great one, guys, and stay tuned for the next episode.